So here I am.
Contained.
In the car. Mobile office. Maybe just two other words to start with. Then before all of this, I have been an entrepreneur since I was 14, initially in the e-commerce industry, and then getting further into real tech, starting from like 2012-13. And then we built a supply chain startup back in 2015, which we sold in 2019. And after selling that, we started figuring what to do next. And as my interest had been going towards the Web3 since like 2015-ish, but I wasn't doing much there, then by the time of 2021, we figured that there could be an overlap between supply chain and blockchain, and that's where we end up where we now are.
So this started with NFT Tallinn. Now we have Suppline coming into NFT Tallinn 2. Everything that NFT is supposed to be, minus buying and selling pictures to make money.
The reason why we think that people should be there is because Estonia is one of those original countries that has been playing around with blockchain and cryptography since the late 70s, and with the government now being running on KSI blockchain since 2008. This means that in Estonia, all the health records are timestamped and accessible to all of our doctors and police workers and other public sector employees. Many other systems are working similarly. And it very much is the place where you can come and see that what could be if things continue in their progression. And even though Estonia has been running on the KSI blockchain since 2008, then they are these days thinking of how can we move those systems onto something which would be more recent, something more public. So, for example, one of the speakers that will be coming from the Estonian side to NFT Tallinn is the CTO of the Estonian government. So yes, Estonia has a CTO. And not just CTO, but also a CIO, who was a previous speaker and might be joining this time as well. And the CTO has been talking about how he would envision us generating one single stacked registry that would be on a public blockchain, and basically making it so that every other institution would be getting access to the facts from this blockchain, and then building their application layers on top of it. We are working very closely with all the other countries to bring in the representatives of their most innovative businesses, startups, also government representatives, artists, for those that really care for that side of the NFTs more, and pretty much the whole Web3 space into one place for a week. And the question on why banana, then when it comes to Web3, then I, for long periods, didn't really understand the NFT side. I understood the blockchain side, but the NFT seemed kind of like just quirky and fun. Like a half year later, I accidentally bought myself a Bored Ape, and that's where the banana started coming in to World of Freight. And then we figured that we need to connect all this together, and from World of Freight, we brought the banana into an NFT Tallinn as well.
This is a funny story because I got one right here. I'm going to blow up another company, but you're using the concept with the banana in branding the conference. And I have this company in Philly, Board Bagels, shout out. They have one of the apes, which you can use commercially, and they built their company's brand around the ape that they own. It has some recognition value.
We actually do try to somewhat use the ape inside the event marketing as well. It's only fair to host something in Estonia for Bored Apes as well. So we do expect lots of apes to show up. So this year we are doing things a little bit more advanced than previously. We brought in a professional conference organizer. We started this time 8-9 months ahead. We are focusing even more on some topics which are for those that are already very knowledgeable of the industry, but still want to go deeper. We already have the preliminary agenda on the website, so people can go and check it out. You can apply to become a speaker if you just add as a comment that you know Will or you came from this space. And other than that, last time we had policy-focused events, Pizza DAO even had Will run a workshop. This time, we already have 2 different sustainability-related summits that are in planning, at least one DeFi summit, which is being in plan as well. We might even have the blockchain Cartesi run a hackathon for the likes of Harry. We are looking to host one VIP poker event.
Awesome. So supply chain, regulation, commercial use cases, plenty of great people to catch up on.
A little bit more on the history side than in between of running this previous supply chain startup. I was invited to help out this local Estonian robotics event that had been running since 2001. Decided not to spend anything on ads, but only on flight tickets and going to different events around the world. Beijing, the event hosted had 40,000 people. The Estonian biggest one also had in like 30,000 come through. So we have done a bunch of things in robotics and events before as a short-term side gig. And now we're using those things in the NFT talent side. We initially built as a side project a game fully on chain called World of Freight, with the idea of it eventually becoming a supply chain simulator on blockchain. We also started working on offering this infrastructure to other games. Renting in this concept means that if you have an asset that gives you access to do something in a game, rent theirs out. We should be getting first cases of getting this NFT renting to other games live within the month.
How does it work? We can go through contracts and talk solidity.
A basic concept, and the game has different people that have the assets already on the blockchain via NFTs. We have set up a contract that allows people to say that this asset is available for renting. You either can rent it for a limited amount of races. In our case, the renter would have to pay either a prefixed payment or share a percentage of their winnings. And what we're using there is also Chainlink's keepers to do all these payments automatically. On the front-end side, we have it built so that they choose the terms on which they want to rent something out. And then the other side can go into an internal marketplace where they can rent it. What we have now done on the blockchain side is that we are not actually moving the asset. How NFT renting previously has been done only really makes sense for high value assets where you put down enough collateral for this to actually make sense. For example, if I have a Bored Ape and someone wants to get a club access for one night, then maybe it could make sense. But even for that, there are now better tools. Proxy, it's like proxy wallets type of thing, where you're able to share a limited time access to your wallet to someone else without the edit rights, just with the view rights, which then can be used together with like token proof to get into events when you have to prove that you have something with. And the original use case for that was that don't take your cold wallet with you. Generate a proxy warm wallet that would be used for getting access to different places. We don't think that sending things would really make sense. The other option would be just to put things into escrow and make sure that you don't sell it in the time as it's rented out. If they would be on the Polygon network or some other cheaper networks, then it would potentially make sense. But as we have built it so that our game itself runs in Polygon, but all the assets are in Ethereum based, then it doesn't really make sense for moving those assets. So at the moment, we have built it so that all this transaction information would be on chain. We are looking for other ways how to even further optimize it. There are some interesting ways, for example, using the unlock protocol, which would enable building something similar into the initial NFT contract. However, as in most cases, people don't think about needing to rent something before they launch the NFT collection. And what it also allows is that if there are multiple games or multiple services that are utilizing the same asset, I could be renting my Bored Ape to William for one game, and my Bored Ape for Daniel for another game. It will work with the pre-existing NFTs.
Cool.
Yes, we have great ideas on the supply chain side that over the next 5 or 10 years, we do still see that the faster route to market is with those that already have assets on blockchain, and then we give them tools, and then over time we can look into how can we take those tools even closer to those that don't have any assets yet.
What do you think are the steps to experimenting with all this digital stuff to actually bring it to physical supply chains? And then, there's this utopia we all have in mind where, you go to any corner store and scan a barcode on your coffee, and you can see, on-chain information about the farm that it came from.
When we started building, I thought that the infrastructure is ready, or more or less there. So the initial thing that we started with was not even trying to build our own protocol, but trying to write a layer that would enable the communication between manufacturers, the logistics companies, and the retail companies, utilizing blockchain as one part, saving the information as the information goes through. But then we started going deeper and realized that the problem why our previous companies had been failing was because in supply chain there is nothing similar to like in finance there is Swift, some sort of language that everyone speaks. We have ecoterms from like ages ago, but there is really no connectivity out there. If some companies are using EDIs, some APIs, some just sending Excel sheets, some sending something third. And then we figured that if you want to build something new, then why deal with all the old technologies? Let's do a new leap. Let's use blockchains to build a base layer and then connect to the old ways by having translators. But then we didn't want to start developing it too heavily. So we spent like the first year simply on getting our ideas together and getting feedback from the initial community, getting our white paper ready, and then we went to the market. Over the course of the last 6 months, we talked to roughly around 500 companies in the supply chain space, from manufacturers, retailers, and logistics companies, realizing that quite a big amount of them already are knowledgeable about blockchain. And a lot of them have had the experience where in 2017-18, they were about to play around with blockchain, with Hyperledger. And they hated the experience so much so that they currently are still wary about whether they want to go through the pain again. So I think that in the best case, we'll be seeing like major companies utilizing blockchain-based systems for these type of topics that we have been thinking internally in the next 2 to 4 years. However, for the mass adoption, it's going to take more than 10 years for sure. There is a company called Guardtime, which is the company behind the KSI blockchain on which the Estonian government is running. Their technology is also used by the US military for their supply chain logistics. And their technology is also used by the European ECB's CBDC project. But what they now are doing, after all this last 20 years of R&D, they are building their own layer one called AlphaBill. And AlphaBill, according to them, has unlimited amount of transactions at almost no transaction fees. So once this comes out, and of course it's not going to be like that from the first moment, but once it's getting tested and everything else, then maybe this could be one of the answers from the like the base layer side. But then you have many other layers on the application side, and then I think the biggest question isn't even technology, but it's getting the taxonomy put in place and making it so that everyone is not just wants to do collaboration, but is made to make to have collaborate. Is that from supply chain, we still have a long way to go. But it doesn't mean that we shouldn't be working on that. It's just that we need to set our expectations straight. We still are working on the supply chain route, but we realized that the money there isn't there yet. So we had to do something else as well. And since gaming seems to be the next big wave from the Web3 use cases side, and that coming back from Miami, it seems to be the consensus that the next hype cycle for at least the next year will be in gaming, and then it might be moving to somewhere else. When it comes to the games, then we believe that there's four major reasons why any company is looking into adding the blockchain support into that. And it all starts with the proof of ownership, improved liquidity, going into enriched utility and portability between systems.